Hello there and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Charles Alpha. You can watch this news on Vision TV 24/7 and other social media platforms displayed on your screen. My sign language interpreter is Anna Lainka. First, now the headlines. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu gets global and national Stop Tuberculosis champion recognition. Federal government unveils reforms in livestock subsector to end incessant farmer header crisis. ECOWAS kicks off rural electricity emergency plan in 5 member states. Now, as daunting as tuberculosis is in Nigeria and other parts of the world, sustained and concerted efforts by all critical stakeholders can end the scourge well before year 2030. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu expressed his confidence at her investiture as a global and national Stop TB champion by Global Stop TB Partnership in Geneva in Abuja. State House correspondent NTAi has more.
That recognition from Global Stop TB Partnership, Geneva, adds Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu to the league of other notable champions who carry the honor and burden of leading the fight against tuberculosis by expanding public interest in the scourge. And in return, she is expected to add her voice and face to the campaign by promoting advocacy and mobilizing resources aimed at reversing the number of new cases and improving the lives of those affected.
There are moments in life when you feel the stars are aligned and it's like that's the moment you should do something. I think Nigeria is in that moment because it's already the ambition there. It's a great mobilization.
Nigeria's tuberculosis treatment has improved in the last 4 years with about 70% in 2023. That notwithstanding, the demand on Nigeria's First Lady is clear. 1, from the inspiring testimonies of TB survivors, and 2, because the country is still one of the 30 burdened by high incidences of tuberculosis that will require about $1 billion to fight.
I accept this responsibility as a greater call to action. Ending tuberculosis by 2030 is not impossible. With the active support and commitment of everyone seated here today, we can achieve this goal.
And putting words into action, she announced a donation of 1 billion naira by Renewed Hope Initiative into the fight against tuberculosis.
Designation is not just a title, but carries with it the power to make a difference. I kindly appeal that you all use your exalted positions to amplify awareness about tuberculosis, to end the stigma associated with it, and to help patients in your respective states access the available treatments and support.
To the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, her investiture signals a new dawn as the nation adopts a whole-of-society approach in the fight against tuberculosis.
Later today, we will be approving investments in significant amounts to all the primary healthcare centers under the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund program, which will be channeled towards providing services, which will include tuberculosis as an integral part of the service that Nigerians should access.
As her first official duty, the First Lady decorated wives of state governors as state Stop Tuberculosis champions for their respective states. In the State House, NTAi, NTA News.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tugar says he is counting on the support of the media by remaining proactive and unbiased in their reportage when dealing with diplomatic issues. The minister stressed this during a media briefing with journalists covering the ministry in Abuja. Garba Natala reports.
Unbiased and proactive reporting is the minister's call on the diplomatic correspondents assigned to the ministry. The interactive session took off this aspect that the media is strategic. If the ministry is to actualize its goals, Yusuf Tugar urged the media practitioners to be proactive and focus on issues central to national interest.
A lot of what we do is also behind the scenes. So you can't come out and shout about it. And so you can't say, well, this is one of the results of what I have done, what you have done, and this is the impact on the country.
While interacting with the ministry's media team, Frederick NTAi explained the need for training and retraining of the media team in line with best practices that will help them become abreast of diplomatic rules and engagements.
We as Deacon are committed, sir, to support you to succeed in your responsibility as the #1 diplomat in the country.
The meeting was worthwhile and crucial to forge ahead as one indivisible entity being the country's image makers. Highlight of this session was the presentation of the diplomatic correspondent's honor to the minister as grand patron. In Abuja, Garba Muhammad Atala, NTA News.
Issues that will add value and fast-track federal government's efforts of strengthening the society through the media had dominated the engagement between the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, and members of the Center for Media and Society. Observations for a new approach to press freedom, reforms of broadcasting legislation, strengthening community broadcasting, deepening citizen engagement, and energizing inclusion, the minister reassured, are already on the front burner of the government through the Ministry of Information and National Orientation.
It's not about propaganda. It's not about saying things that are not untrue. It's about projecting the image of government while also protecting rights of citizens to information. The media is largely free, but President Bola Ahmed Tinubu intends to make it even freer. There is no way democracy can thrive if the media is not free. The media has to be free for democracy to thrive, and government is pursuing that vigorously. We must emphasize that the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because he himself is a product of press freedom, and he cannot in any way attempt to stifle that freedom that he himself has enjoyed.
For many years, radio stations serving the development needs of communities have been operating in Nigeria. These are the small-scale stations that are operating either in grassroots communities or on campuses of educational institutions across Nigeria. They are demonstrating their potentials as tools of grassroots development, and their impact is felt in all the locations where they exist across the country. We implore the government through your ministry, sir, to put in place measures to strengthen and expand this important sector of broadcasting.
For Media and Society has acknowledged the policy statements and actions of the ministry so far and pledged to support the ongoing positive narratives that are promoting unity and a peaceful society. Now, in a march towards the attainment of a competitive, timely and cost-efficient trade in goods and services within and across Nigeria's borders, the federal government has relaunched the National Trade Facilitation Committee with commitment to deliver on workable frameworks that will improve transport infrastructure, customs procedures, ports efficiency and usage of its solutions.
The commitment of the present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on economic recovery, the narrative will surely change in the future. I look up to you for the economic development that this country severely needs.
Our collaboration today, if built on very strong will help us to explore the full potentials of trade facilitation, which includes but is not limited to increased trade volumes, reduction of transaction costs, and improved compliance with regulations.
Let us embrace this relaunch as more than a ceremonial act. Let it be the reaffirmation of our collective will to forge a path of progress and prosperity.
The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Anite, also added to the membership of the Trade Facilitation and Liberalization Committee with the view to revigorating the actualization of set targets. Elsewhere, political tension mounted in Togo on Wednesday as police broke up an opposition news conference amid backlash over a constitutional reform criticized as a power grab. From Apani reports.
The West African country's parliament voted for a new constitution on Monday, switching from a presidential to a parliamentary system. With less than a month before legislative elections, the opposition fears the move will clear the way for long-serving President Fonya Sigbe to remain in power indefinitely. About 30 gendarmes armed with truncheons interrupted the conference, which had been called by opposition parties and civil society groups to address the change. The officer said the event at the ADI opposition party headquarters in the capital, Lome, did not have the necessary authorization. Consequently, the head of the National Alliance for Change, NAC opposition party, Jean-Pierre Fabre, hit out against the reform at another press conference. He said, "Enough is enough. We are determined to take up the fight and we are going to take the battle to them." David Dosse, spokesman for the FCTD Civil Society Coalition, called for the population to mobilize to put an end to this mockery. "This is a battle that will last for months," he warned, urging the international community and West African bloc and ECOWAS to assume their responsibility. Non-governmental organizations regularly criticize Togo for infringing human rights, and the opposition counts around 100 political prisoners. Organizers and head of the Parti des Togolais, PT, Nathaniel Olympioids, described as unacceptable the action of the Togolese regime in allowing itself absolutely everything, having changed the constitution on the sly. He said, by depriving the Togolese people of the right to choose their president through this constitutional coup, the regime has crossed a red line. He therefore called on the Togolese people to stand up and put a stop to this disastrous plan. In Abuja, Frama Panyi, NTA News.
From Togo, now we'll take you to Senegal, where the National Vote Counting Commission on Wednesday announced Bassirou Diomaye Faye's presidential electoral victory by 54.28% of votes in the first round of the official provisional results. From Akpanyi again has the details.
A victory for anti-establishment candidate Faye, who was only freed from prison 10 days before the election, still has to be validated by Senegal's top constitutional body, which could happen in a few days. The results placed him well ahead of the governing coalition's candidate, former Prime Minister Amadou Ba, who polled 35.79% of votes. Faye, aged 44, set to become the youngest president in Senegal's history, said he wants a break with the current political system. Third-place candidate Aliou Mamadou Dia won just 2.8% of the vote, according to figures read out at the Dakar court by the president of the National Vote Counting Commission, Amadi Diouf. His victory in Sunday's vote was already clear after the publication of unofficial partial results. The margin of Faye's win was confirmed by the vote counting commissions, which falls under the judiciary. From Apani, NTA News.
ECOWAS is redesigning its electricity master plan for the sub-region with focus on rural electrification drive to boost economic growth in communities of member states. The project has kicked off already in 5 countries. Kevin Eunai reports.
The Emergency Rural Power Supply Program is an integral component of ECOWAS Electricity Master Plan, for which the West African Power Pool is a flagship scheme. 5 communities each in the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Niger and Guinea are the first set to benefit from the project, partly funded by a €150 million grant from the European Union. Addressing a press conference in Abuja, ECOWAS Commissioner for Infrastructure, Energy and Digitalization, Sediko Doka, on initiative to address the energy challenges in the West African sub-region, said a proposed bank of energy for the sub-region is in the offing to help raise funds for member states to diversify sources of energy from hydro to solar and renewable, which is hoped will move the power generation towards 60,000 megawatts in the region.
In 2020, we adopt a directive on the securitization of the cross-border electricity trade within the region. But what we realize, there is some issues, and the issue is what I said. Most of our discourse for Nigeria or equivalent of power public utilities for the other countries have problem of management, have problem of treasury.
The modalities for effective energy partnership among member states is another area the ECOWAS Commission says it is studying to ensure that it leads to a win-win situation for all parties. In Abuja, Kelvin Ebunwaye, NTA News.
Well, this is the news on NTA International. We'll take a break now. More reports ahead. Stay with us. For staying with us, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, has concluded its capacity development training of executives of the Federal Ministry of Education in Nigeria, with a charge on them to replicate the gains of the training across the Federation. Francis Roger reports that 49 persons participated in the exercise held in Abuja.
The training, anchored by the International Bureau for Education, an arm of UNESCO, focused on improving the capacity and professionalism of federal executives, saddled with the responsibilities of designing, implementing policies, monitoring and evaluation of school curriculums that will suit and enhance the socio-economic and cultural background of Nigeria in line with best global practice.
So we know the Nigerian context, the social, economic and cultural context is changing, and if through the curriculum the education is contributing to creating the profile of Nigerians who are knowledgeable, who have skills and competencies required to develop socially, economically and otherwise, then you need to have an ongoing training of curriculum developers.
We are supporting the roadmap of the country to fast-track the attainment of the SDGs.
The 6-month training, initiated through the Federal Ministry of Education, guided participants through technical sessions which allowed for knowledge sharing.
We are now better informed. The issue of coherence, cohesion, synergy, and understanding among participants is what will bear us, and this we are going to pursue.
What happened in the 20th century is different from what is happening in the 21st century. So for those who are now going to be involved in review or in developing a new curriculum, they themselves will need to also be brought to the new setting in curriculum.
At the end of the final training, one of the recommendations was for the Federal Ministry of Education to ensure that the constituted curriculum community of practice is brought annually to brainstorm and profile ways to develop Nigeria's education sector. Francis Dojo, NTA News.
And now on food production, the federal government is to unveil reforms in the livestock subsector of the economy that would bring to an end the incessant farmer header crisis in the country. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security says the policy will also overhaul the value chains of the sector. The minister was speaking when he hosted the Plateau State Governor Caleb Muftwang in Abuja. Musa Babali reports.
Home of Peace and Tourism is the slogan of Plateau State. But agronomists name the state as the home of Irish potatoes and vegetables. However, the incessant communal clashes in the state has been affecting food production output of the state. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Abubakar Kyari says the government is making efforts to ensure peace in rural and farming communities in the country.
Our land mass is shrinking, and we have to collaborate assiduously with the subnationals, with the state governments and state governors, so as to bring us out of this challenge that we face as a country in terms of food insecurity.
With peace returning to Plateau, the state governor says his administration is revolutionizing agricultural activities in the state.
It is scandalous that the major hotels in Nigeria still import Irish potatoes from South Africa. This is a fact, and it shouldn't be. It is a scandal that the big hotels still import beef from South Africa. This shouldn't be, and I think we can change the narrative.
The state governor also confirms receiving foodstuffs allocation from the federal government to cushion the effects of food inflation in the state.
We want to specially thank Mr. President, who has intervened massively, and I can announce to you that we are presently receiving some supplies of palliatives, maize, sorghum, and hopefully rice would follow which we hope should be able to address some of the immediate needs in terms of hunger.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security is gradually releasing food from strategic reserves to state governors as directed by the President. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Experts in science and technology have resolved to develop indigenous mechanism to enhance research and innovation to boost Nigerian economy. At the end of the 3-day summit organized by Research for Impact Knowledge-Based Economy and Sustainable Development, experts from across Africa agreed that the only way out of Nigeria's economic challenges is to embrace and adopt technological innovations in the implementation of all government's policies and programs with full-scale participation of the youths. They are adopting the technology and innovation policy of President Tinubu as a template for the implementation of the research programs.
For us to deliver is to make sure that we are using the Research Development and Innovation Toolkit to interrogate the presidential priority areas, 8 of them. So it's like we are using the directive of the president, using the toolkit that we have with us as a people before and as experts to now provide solutions.
Without data, without research, without development, we cannot grow. And what we have to do is ensure that in every sphere of our lives, in every MDA, in every organization, it becomes a critical part of that organization.
We're talking about infrastructure. That is part of it. If we don't have infrastructure, you cannot have a functional economy. You cannot have a competitive economy. And believe me, check out there that this government is recognizing and going ahead to fund and support research.
You need to be creative, you need to be innovative, you don't have to depend on the ideas that are foreign. Most of the times you face some unique challenges, and these unique challenges you cannot buy off their solutions off the shelf of nations, and even if you can, they might not be willing to sell it to you.
West and Central Africa Research Network and the British government participated in the summit. Motivation and recognition of unflinching efforts to the success story of an organization drive delivery of quality performance and customer satisfaction necessary to boosting the morale of employees are displayed out at the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations National Spokesperson 2024 award ceremony, where 20 individuals and organizations were honored for outstanding performances. Haman Javani reports.
The National Spokespersons Award, a platform to celebrate and acknowledge outstanding spokespersons in corporate communications, public affairs, politics, media, advocacy, and other domains in Nigeria.
It's important for us to recognize those that we will begin to look at as icons, as templates, as those who will show the way, mentor the other people that are coming behind.
It was a night of glitz and glamour with 200 entries, but 10% scaled through to be honored at the 4th edition of the annual event.
I feel very great on behalf of the Chief Corporate Communications Officer, because it's been a very assiduous task to change the perception of NNPC to our nation, to our people. We've taken the brand to a higher level.
I'm always a step ahead of whatever the situation is, and that is also what is complementing the efforts of the robust synergy, in the National Assembly.
I attribute this to the leadership and guidance of my boss, the Chief of Defense Staff General C.G. Musa, who is very, very passionate about moving the armed forces, forward.
We're going to work harder to make sure that the business of public relations we are practicing in Nigeria Customs Service is ethical and is to a standard that people will learn from us.
Categories include distinguished spokespersons in technology, crisis management, political communication, judiciary, among others. The presence of a 105-year-old pioneer member of the Institute added color and dignity to the event. The award is expected to promote efficiency and spur spokespersons to remain committed to advancing the cause of public relations in the country. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
Next is our weather prospect for Friday in Nigeria and other cities around the world. Well, that's how it's been on the news on NTA International. I am Charles Alpha Hannah. I like guys, interpreter.